What's up, everybody? It's draft time. I'm Pierre, flying solo tonight, but we're going to do a draft like we always do, full PPR. This time we're going to running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex, and a quarterback. So before we get going on the draft, a couple things I want to remind you of. First of all, haven't done it yet, it's a good time to sign up for the Flock. Flockfantasy.com/endgame. You see down there below. Our 30% off is about to expire. Get any membership, do it now, and you can get in this mock draft and others every time we mock, which is 3 times a week, up until week 1, and you get your spot. You notice if you want to draft with against you guys, we only have 2 spots open tonight because it's almost full. Okay, these are our members who have been with us from the jump, and so if you want to get in on that, do it now. Flockfantasy.com/endgame. Oh yeah, access to our preseason rankings, bonus articles and videos, things that you don't get on this channel. So all of that and more, flockfantasy.com/endgame. Check it out now. All right, so now let's get to the actual draft. Make myself nice and small. There we go. And by the way, just throw this out there. I'm on location right now. So if you guys notice, different background. I'm in Charlotte tomorrow night. Going to see Carolina Panthers practice live, going to the Fan Fest, get to see Bryce Young, the Frank Reich offense, all of that. So be interesting. Do a little report from there. But let's get to the actual draft because that's what you're all here for. A lot of interesting news. Of course, a lot of hype. You know that. There's always hype. Coming out of training camp, we love the hype, don't we? Every time you go on Twitter, it's like you can't refresh without seeing a George Pickens highlight. But let's get to the actual draft, and let's see just how high he goes and anybody else. I know I got a couple people here. He's saying, yeah, NC. Is Marquise in here? I don't know if he's in here. I know he's from NC. Look up. All right. So here we go. If you are waiting to be one of the 2 people that gets to join with our community and draft, hit that button right now. There's the link. And we're full. Didn't take long. Ale taking the 12th spot. We didn't see Ale, I don't think, at all last week. What's up, Ale? Fantasy Sleepers in here. And the usual suspects. All right, let's get it. Here we go. Start draft. That Kid King is up number 1, which, by the way, I know you hit us up with a trade offer in the Dynasty League, and then you took it back. Not sure what's up there. If you're still interested, we were actually thinking about it. Chris and I were thinking about it. So if you're still game. All right. Let's keep it moving here. Interesting. All right. You know, we don't have like an official news desk or news, but I guess if we did unofficially, it would be Nate. He's always on top of things, even before we are, saying that the new coaching staff likes Terrace Marshall, that he looks good. I mean, he's got the tools. He's got the pedigree, you know, came from LSU, wide receiver U. Been disappointing, obviously, the last couple of years, but you never know. New staff, new philosophy, new quarterback. That definitely helps. Yeah, he's worth a flyer. I mean, come on. You really think 32-year-old or whatever he is, Adam Thielen, is going to make an impact? I don't know about that. Mingo is athletic and talented, but he's a rookie, and he was drafted a lot earlier than people think he was going to. I don't know anybody thought he was going to be drafted that high. So it wouldn't really surprise me if Marshall was one of the guys there. Like, I don't think he's the guy, but I mean, he can make an impact. All right, let's see what we got. We're already round in. That was quick. All right, everyone's ready tonight. Receivers, first 5. Anthony taking Bijan. The number 6 thing is first time ever. It's going to feel good once you're halfway through the season and you see that he's the number 1 running back in fantasy. Obviously just a mock, but you never know. Garrett Wilson up at the 8. we've heard mixed things from the Jets. I mean, we've heard that Aaron Rodgers looks better than ever, whatever. We're in the offensive line isn't that great. Alvin Cook, if he's going, who knows? I don't know that really matters much. I mean, it will help them. I don't know how much that means for Garrett Wilson per se. I know he was a little banged up the other day. But firmly a first-round pick there, the 1.8. That's, I mean, definitely ahead of Diggs and A.J. Brown. I mean, I don't think I would get behind that. I mean, even if in a standard league, because one part of Bijan's big appeal is that he's such a good pass catcher. I mean, I'm just not taking any running back at the 1.1. So, I mean, I guess if you're going to take a running back, that would be the guy. But I don't see any reason not to take Justin Jefferson at the 1.1. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I kind of just did discuss that. I mean, Diggs is going to be what he is, right? And look, and in fact, Keith, you know, I would say anti-Josh Allen, but I'm team Josh Allen isn't the guy anymore. And like, he's not. I don't think he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year. I guess that's my bold prediction. I'm going with it. I think Diggs is fine. Diggs is what he is, right? There's no issue there. Whatever that drama was, it's gone. There's no competition. Like, Diggs is going to be what he is. Garrett Wilson, you can't argue that he doesn't have the upside to be an elite player, because he does. But is he already, right now, in his second year, ready to be better than Stephon Diggs? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, we always say go for upside, but I mean, in round 1, it's not the time necessarily to just shoot for upside. It's when you want a guy that you know is going to be a stud. Okay, let's see here. So, if you guys are anybody, by the way, if you're new watching, welcome. One thing you'll hear us talk about a lot is I'm not going crazy to draft a running back right here at round 2 or 3. And Kelsey's gone, so I'm not looking at quarterback, and you don't need a quarterback yet. So I'm almost always just saying I'm going to take the best receiver available. At this point, I think it has to be T. Higgins. It's T. Higgins. All right, let's talk about this. I just realized that. So Keith's getting spicy, talking about that. Take Lamb first, no problem there. Ridley in the middle of the second round, before Devontae Adams, before T. Higgins. Now, honestly, you look at the rest of the receivers. Let me pull up the queue. I'm not going to show my queue too much, but you know, probably even Chris more than I were saying, like, I'm not touching DK Metcalf anywhere in the second or the third round. Amari Cooper I like, but not in the second round yet. I mean, he was the other guy I was considering if Higgins was not there. I mean, there's really no other receiver I'm going to say, jumps off the page. It has to be there, but I'm not taking Ridley at what I think it has to be his ceiling. Honestly, I think that's got to be his ceiling. I don't see him as a top 10 overall wide receiver. I mean, they're going to pass the ball a lot. They're going to spread it around. You're going to see Christian Kirk just as involved. You're going to see Zay Jones still get targets. They've got a decent receiving tight end. They have Ingram. They got Etienne. It's a good offense, and you want a piece of it. But man, I just don't see Ridley being peak prime age Atlanta Falcons, passing the ball every other play. Calvin Ridley when they had Matt Ryan slinging it. Could be wrong, but I don't know. All right, let's see here. No quarterbacks taken yet. I'm not going to be the one to take one. Now, this is 2 running back, 2 receiver, and we're doing that more often instead of the 3 receiver because that seems to be just a little bit more common. Is what y'all are saying that you play. want to get you ready for the real thing. I can't pass up on Derrick Henry. I'm not doing it. Because to me, then there's a teardrop, and I say that with Josh Jacobs, of course, knowing everything that's going on there and the uncertainty, right? I mean, otherwise Josh Jacobs would have been taken already. I'm not touching Josh Jacobs. You know I'm not touching Breece Hall. It's too early for Gibbs. It's a little too early for Najee. He's more of a floor guy. Walker, I don't think the injury is too serious. I mean, they say he's week to week. You know, by the time the season starts, he'll probably be okay. Obviously, something to watch because groin injury could linger, and you never want to see that for a running back. But still, I'm not too worried about Kenny Walker. But he's not going this early anyway, so yeah. All right, here we go. Jonathan Taylor. So where did Jonathan Taylor go in this draft? He went pretty much where he usually goes. I guess the 2-5 is interesting. We see now Taylor and Barkley have swapped because I feel like Taylor was almost firmly the number 4 running back off the board, and then Barkley after him. They're always close, right? And then with the Barkley drama, well, now Barkley's set, and now there's Taylor drama, which nobody expected. So it makes sense. He's dropped. I'm almost surprised he didn't drop more, honestly. I think some people are just holding out hope and thinking he does get traded. He does go to a team that's a contender. He goes to a team that's going to want, you know, to value him and pay him, and he's just going to be working. You're not going to trade for a guy like him and then have to pay, because that's the whole point of what he wants. It's not like he all of a sudden hates Indianapolis. He wants to get paid. So if a team is willing to take on all of that, yeah, he's going to be used like a workhorse. Who's going to do that at this point in the preseason? You know, look, my gut says he just stays in Indianapolis and he's not happy for a year and that's it, right? And that's not ideal, but he'll still be fine. But do you want fine with your RB1? Do you want fine with your early second round pick? You know, that's not what you're looking for. So I'm not dropping him right now because there's no reason to raise or drop him in any way. Just like with Barkley, what happened? Nothing happened with Barkley. He was exactly the same, right? Nothing changed. So to you know, see his ADP go up or down didn't really make sense. Nothing happened. I'm guessing that's what's going to happen with Taylor. Is nothing. Like, he'll just still be a Colt. He doesn't have to like Jim Irsay. It doesn't matter. You know, he's still going to play for the team. So I'm not changing Taylor at all in my rankings. Where he was taken right there by Clayton, I think is perfectly fine. I have no problem taking him if I'm taking a running back. But again, like I said, I'm just going to go with a wide receiver there more often than not. Now, if Taylor falls to the end of the second, or even the third round, yeah, I'm taking him, no questions asked. All right, let's see. Let's catch up on things. We've got 2 quarterbacks taken, Mahomes and Hurts. Andrews off the board, middle of the third. London and Moore. I like both those guys. Wow, Dobbins. All right, Joe is not afraid to reach. We know this. Joe gets his guys. I like Dobbins, and again, I'm not changing him in my rankings too much because we just don't know. We don't know what's going to go on to him, but that's just early, just period for Dobbins, because he's not a pass-catching running back, and he's not really going to be. I just don't think he is. So, as much as I want to say I'll have more shares of Dobbins than Gibbs, you know, by the time this year ends, for sure, it's because I'm getting Dobbins in round 5, and then Gibbs is probably going to round 4, maybe into round 3, like we saw here. So that's why I'm just waiting on running back. So, Steve, I see your message. If you're listening, Steve, hit me on DM on the Discord, me or Chris, and let you know how you can get on there, trying to get on the flock. Thank you. Sorry, I appreciate that. You know, it's funny because really going live right now, I should be doing a live for baseball because the trade deadline, and there's about 30 different things to talk about. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, it's been interesting. I usually drop a waiver wire video on Sunday because that's when waivers run for weekly leagues. But this weekend was crazy, and then all that's going to change, right? Well, there's a lot that's changed. Anyone who follows baseball, but yeah, something will come out soon. But I appreciate that. What's the best way to format an 18 PPR league? Is to make it bigger. Make it a 12-team league, maybe even 14. And look, 8-team leagues. I played in an 8-team league for years. My home league, first league I ever played in, an 18 league. We had that league for like 20 years. It's less competitive because honestly, everybody has a stacked team. You don't even need, for the most part, to go to waivers. A lot of people don't want to trade. It just makes it less interesting, to be honest. 10-team is probably the smallest I would do it. Like if it's a home league, I get it. Maybe you don't want it bigger, but yeah, 8-team is just it's kind of just too small. All right, now let me get back to this. Somebody had a comment. I'm going to address response to what I had said earlier. Okay, Josh Allen. He's fine. He had an injured elbow. Okay, so let me make my pick and then I'll get to that. So running backs did kind of go. I'm gonna wait. So I gotta try to think, what is Heath gonna do? I'm tempted to take my guy quarterback. I'm also tempted to take another receiver just to lock up my flex. I don't think there's a guy that really jumps out to me. All right, well, I'm on the clock here. I'm just gonna do it. You guys will see one of the videos that's coming out in the next couple days. Yeah, we'll explain exactly how I feel about that pick. So what do I think about Josh Allen? So it's funny, I actually was reading today, catching up on reception perception. Anybody here who happened to be watching during the early portion of the summer, right before, actually it was, I guess, still spring, before the NFL draft, right before the NFL draft, week before, so end of April. We talked to Matt Harmon. Anybody who doesn't know who Matt Harmon is, go to Yahoo and you'll see he's one of the main guys for fantasy football, and he has been for a long time. And he has his own site called Reception Perception. So we sat down with him and for about an hour got to ask him about receivers for this year's rookie class before the draft. Now, the point here is that we trust him. He's a smart guy. He does his homework. He has hard data that shows how effective receivers are. Well, this year, for the first time, he's doing quarterbacks. So just today, I was catching up, and I saw some of his quarterback profiles, and I read Josh Allen's. And basically, long story short, he says Josh Allen is firmly his number 2 guy after Pat Mahomes. Okay. Let me get my pick here in. So he's going 3 running backs in a row. All right, so he's going Etienne, Swift, and Walker. Swift, definitely earlier than he usually goes. Walker, that's about where he goes. In fact, maybe a little bit later. So maybe choosing to flex one. Okay. I feel like if I wait here on running back, the guy I want's not going to be there, but I'm still going to take a chance. So I'll go with Mike Will, which may or may not be inspired by the fact that we hear reports that Quentin Johnson is dropping every other pass thrown his way in camp. But anyways, I think Mike Williams will be fine. All right, so Matt Harmon is saying Josh Allen definitely has improved in every facet. He's not just accurate compared to everyone else, but those deep shots, those riskier passes that a lot of quarterbacks can't get away with, that makes him a big play machine. He's still doing it. So he's got him as an elite quarterback. And nothing's changed with the offense, really. So wondering if his maybe reduced efficiency on some of those intermediate to short throws, like the comebacks especially, he struggled with. Some of those more precise timing passes, which, to be fair, coming out of college, like he couldn't do that at all. Nobody thought he even had that in him, and he did. He made it so that he was able to make all the throws, and he took a little step back last year. So you got to wonder, is it just injury related? And no one really knows. It seems like it might be. Yeah. So look, is he 100% healthy this year? He should be. If he is he still going to be an elite quarterback and be one of the top? He absolutely could be. So I'm not saying that I think his accuracy has disappeared, that he's not a good quarterback anymore. My question is on the offense itself. Like, what are we going to see different from last year? Because you might remember that what also changed last year wasn't the injury. It was Brian Daboll gone. Ken Dorsey, who I love and adore, as a former Miami Hurricanes quarterback who won championship with the best college team ever in 2001, is the OC. He's got a little different philosophy. He's trying to encourage him to check down more, trying to get the running backs involved in the passing game. And so that's why I wonder if some of the deep shots won't be there as much. Some of the intermediate passes, they're not going to have him, try to do those as much. They're going to try maybe to protect him a little bit. This is why I'm a little higher on James Cook. And I don't know. It's not that I'm anti-Allen as much as I want to be, again, as a Dolphins fan. I just don't know. I would prefer, of course, Mahomes and Hurts. There's no debate. Those guys are the top two. Lamar Jackson, you'll hear all the reason to think he's going to be potentially the top quarterback in fantasy this year. Now, Burrow, I don't know. I think I might now have to slide Burrow down below Allen because he already doesn't have the rushing upside, and he also now has this injury. Herbert, I think, will have a breakout year. I like Herbert a little bit more than Allen. I think that's kind of like the tipping point here. That and then Fields. Like, what do we expect from Fields? It doesn't really matter if Fields progresses as a passer. He can still be a better fantasy player than Josh Allen. If Fields improves in any way, and he will, then I got to put him above Josh Allen. So it's really kind of more of a numbers game here. So somebody also asked, sorry, I'm going to slide through the comments here. Yes, is Roland, our resident Chiefs fan. Do I believe the Fields Moore connection? Absolutely, I do. DJ Moore has been a really good receiver ever since he came in the league. And Fields, of course, he's going to get better. Why wouldn't he get better? Now, think about what he had to throw to last year. Think about what he's got this year in a legit number one receiver in DJ Moore. Of course, I'm 100% buying into that. That's why I'm totally drafting DJ Moore if I can, late third, mid to late third, sometimes early third. Look, I almost took him in this draft. If this was a 3 receiver instead of 2, yeah, I might have taken him instead of Derrick Henry, but I had to take Derrick Henry. Yeah, so I'm totally buying into that. Exactly. Henry in the third, always good value. Okay, let's see what we got here. Now remember also, even though this is only 2 receiver league, it is also 2 flex. In full PPR, if you prefer to flex a receiver, it's not a bad idea to go anchor RB. You could even go 0 RB. I don't see a receiver who jumps off the page to me, though, so I am going to take not Cam Akers because he was taken away earlier, not Dameon Pierce, not Aaron Jones. But I'll take a guy I like here just to make sure that King doesn't take him instead of me. I'll take Rashad White. And then I won't tell you who I'm going to take next. Excellent question, 8. If you're cutting through Cam Pipe, what matters? What do we ignore? Okay, every time you see someone make a highlight catch, like a receiver on the sideline with a one-hand grab, it's pretty safe to ignore that. Now, if you hear so-and-so got the first carry of the first practice, you can ignore that because it really doesn't matter. The veterans get this treatment. The rookies are always, forced to prove themselves, and the first day of practice means absolutely nothing. It's the end of practice that means something. So one thing that we've always preached is what you look for is reps. Who's running with the first team on the regular? Who is being treated as the starter? So that's what you care about. It doesn't even matter if they're making the catches or the plays or the highlights or whatever. Highlights mean absolutely nothing when you're going against basically a non-defense. Training camp is very specifically not the regular season. It's training camp. You're training. So the highlights mean nothing. Ignore the highlights. Look at who's out there, how often they're out there, who's running with the first team, how they're being used. And so this actually brings me back to the Bears. One thing I took notice of, although now I guess he's hurt, but Rashawn Johnson, they're saying, looked really good in pass protection. He might be the guy who's the best at that, which makes sense because Khalil Herbert is miserable at that and he can't catch to save his life anyways. Khalil Herbert will never, ever be used on third downs and passing plays. Rashawn Johnson was drafted for that reason, not because they needed another running back, but because he had that skill set and he was a good value. And they know Khalil Herbert can't do that. And Deontay Foreman, you just don't know if he's going to stay healthy. So I look for the fact that Rashawn Johnson could be an interesting player that's used on third downs. I am sort of buying into the JSN hype, but that's also because he was the top receiver in this draft class. The Ridley hype is, I'd say it's only significant in the fact that we didn't see him at all last year, so we need to make sure he's number one in game shape, that he still hasn't lost a step, that he's got that juice, and so I think that does matter. It is significant that he didn't look like he lost a step, so I agree with that. The fact that he ran some sort of play that looked faster than the other guys, well, he should, right? That's why they got him. He should be faster. The fact that Justin Brownlee or Jason Brownlee of the Jets is some undrafted rookie is making highlight plays doesn't mean anything because he can dominate in the preseason and he'll still be the fifth string receiver. So that matters nothing for fantasy. So again, forget the highlights. Look at their usage. Look at how the coaches are planning to deploy these guys. So again, with the Bears, like Foreman should be the starter week one, but would it shock anybody if Rashawn Johnson winds up being the lead back pretty soon? No, not at all. Because Foreman, injury history, but also, he's a guy who's very similar to Rashawn Johnson in terms of build and speed and everything, just older and with injuries. So I look at the fact that they say Foreman and Herbert are running with the ones, but Johnson looks like the best in terms of third down usage. That might help to make him a little bit more appealing in a PPR league. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. I can trust it. Ridley in Atlanta is not the same as Ridley now because, again, you're talking about a guy who was 2 years younger back then, was in his prime, and Matt Ryan and T-Law, look, I'm not going to say T-Law can't be as good or better than Matt Ryan. He definitely can. Both these guys are number one overall picks. Are the Jaguars going to throw the ball as much as the Falcons from a couple years ago? It'll be close, but he also has more target competition because you got to remember when he had his huge year, that was the year Julio missed, I think, half the season. And I guarantee that neither you or I can name who else the Falcons had on their receiving core that season. Maybe it was Olamide Zaccheaus and some other guys. I mean, it was Ridley and that was it. This is before Kyle Pitts was in the league. So I just don't think the target share will be as high. Now, you say, well, he was a first rounder. Should he have been a first rounder that year? Probably not. I mean, obviously, he was a bust the next year, sort of a bust. But anyways, look, I'll take my Ridley in the third round. I'm okay with that now, but I still think second is a little too early. All right, Roland, I hear you. Let me see. Oh, that didn't do anything. Sorry. I was trying to move myself to the right. It didn't work out. But... so some people saying Swift was a reach. I mean, you've heard it if you saw a video a couple of weeks ago. Swift is a guy I just find myself grabbing over and over again. But again, why? Because I'm getting him in round 5 or 6. Like, if I have to pay a 3rd round or 4th round price tag for him, I won't. I'll be taking somebody else.
Come on!
So I guess it was sort of a reach. But if I look at who was after him, Kenny Walker, yeah, I'll take Walker over Swift if that's close. Breece Hall, no, I'm not taking Breece Hall over Swift. Akers, I like Akers and Pierce. Y'all know this, but it was a slight reach. It was just a slight reach. Now we're in rounds 5 through 8, rounding up the 8th here, saying you have to reach or you don't get your guy. I mean, sometimes it depends. This is where you can't worry too much about ADP. You get the guy you think is going to be best, because in the end, once the season starts, ADP means absolutely nothing. In best ball, different. If you're in a tournament, different. In redraft, regular league, get your guy. Absolutely agree with that. All right, let's try to catch up here on all of this. All right, Mason with the question here. The best pick at the 1.7, full PPR, 1 flex, 2 receiver, 2. Okay, so pretty similar to what we're doing here. If you look at the 7th, okay, so let's get back to the board here. Let me make my pick first. Royal, and just so you know, your chief guy there, Kadarius Toney, is first on the queue. I'm not taking him. No, sorry. He already proved. It's not a coincidence. Kadarius Toney and Michael Thomas back to back here next to each other on the list. No, I'm not taking those guys. I am gonna take probably. I don't even like any of these tight ends, to be honest. I'll just take another running back. There we go. Here's a guy I like. B-Rob. Okay. So at the 1.7, look at who's usually available. Look, if this is anything like the Endgame leagues, you're going to see these receivers first, these 5 receivers, CMC and Bijan. You're going to get one of those guys. You should be able to get one of those guys. I would just honestly say exactly what happened tonight so far. Exactly that order. This is exactly how I have my first top 7. This is it. JJ is the 1, Chase is the 2. They'll be gone. Kupp absolutely should be gone. Tyreek Hill. And then whether CeeDee Lamb goes before the running backs, that's up for debate. I think I have Bijan before CeeDee Lamb, to be honest. But it's your choice. You want the running back, the receiver. I'm okay either way. If Lamb and Bijan are both gone, well, then you can say, well, do I take CMC or do I take a guy like Diggs? Again, it's more preference. The more risk-averse pick would be Diggs. If you want that running back, you go McCaffrey. There's not a wrong pick there. But that's the way I have it. Okay, gotta get to this. Cam with a super chat. Thank you, Cam. What's your overall strategy from the 1-6 position? Okay, well, this is not too different from what I just talked about. ESPN redraft half PPR. Now, that does, You'd think that would change things, but it kind of doesn't based on who we have here. Okay, so look, ESPN, redraft, half PPR, 2-receiver league, 12-team league. And Kelsey is in the mix. I didn't mention Kelsey because I'm still probably waiting until at least pick 7 or 8 to take Kelsey. He's not a bad pick there at all. He might be the safest pick there, to be honest. If you're giving me these 3 choices, like these are the 3 choices, I'm taking Tyreek. My second choice there would be Bijan, and then it would be Kelsey. That's what I'm doing. But you're really not making any bad picks there either way. Okay, so I am all set with my starters except tight end. I don't love Waller. You know what? Maybe I will. I am just going to take Evan Ingram. I talked him up a little bit, sort of. Just take him there. Okay, so again, at the 1-6 there, Kim, if you're asking me between those 3, if I'm on the clock and it's my choice, I'm taking Tyreek, and my second choice is Bijan. But those are all good picks. What's up, Sean? Yeah, Swift did go a little early. Breece Hall, look, we're going to see it. Breece Hall is going to be dropping, and he should be. We've been off of him before the Dalvin Cook, way before the Dalvin Cook news. Nothing to do with that. The Dalvin Cook news is just confirmation of what we already knew. Breece Hall is not going to be 100% anytime soon. And even if he was, you have to remember that the coach for the Jets is Robert Saleh, and he is a disciple of Kyle Shanahan, who comes from San Francisco. He wants a running back by committee. He does not want a bell cow back. So it was never going to be just Breece Hall. Remember how for the first few weeks of last year, we were all, so upset because it was Michael Carter and where was Breece Hall going to get the ball? When's Breece Hall? It's not going to be. It's going to be a 1-2 punch no matter who's out there. So Breece Hall being hurt just makes it even easier for them to say, we'll slow play him. I don't want Breece Hall anywhere in the first few rounds at all, even if Dalvin Cook doesn't sign. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs went at 311. Hey, we'll see. We'll see if he's that guy. I would rather take Jahmyr Gibbs than Breece Hall for sure. That might wind up being a steal. Based on when some of these other running backs went, honestly, I hate to do it, but I think I'm going to just have to put Gibbs firmly above Najee. I think I'm just going to have to do it. I already have him over Jacobs. All right, Billy, fair question. Rodgers that was part of the deal, right? It's like, I want my guys. Randall Cobb is there, just to be his buddy. He's the veteran presence, the moral support. He has nothing to do with how often he's going to throw to him. He'll do it, when he's in trouble, and he'll throw him a bone here and there. Cobb is going to wind up with, 20, 25 catches on the season. Lazard, everybody's thinking he's going to be the number 1 guy there. Come on. Lazard was technically the top receiver in Green Bay last year because Christian Watson was hurt half the season and because that's the only player on the receiving staff besides Randall Cobb who Rodgers even had a rapport with before the season. We have rookie Dobbs, rookie Watson, Lazard, Cobb. That's it. That's all he had to throw to. He's got Garrett Wilson. He's going to quickly forget about Allen Lazard. He'll be the number 2 guy by far. So I'm not worried about Lazard cutting into Wilson's target share in any way. Let's go to the superior receiver, the guy who's open. Garrett Wilson will be open. Guarantee that. But I still think I would take Diggs before. It's not quite Justin Ross time or Sky Moore. Sky Moore has Sky Moore been taken? Did he just get taken? There you go. Bring this up. Sky Moore is gone. Oh, we have a believer. Anthony is a believer. Was he already? Anthony, were you already an MT believer? Okay, so Sky Moore right there at the 10-6. Great value. Look, he went after Gabe Davis, after Tony, who's not going to be ready week 1. I think that's a really good spot to take Sky Moore. Now, I'm not saying Sky Moore is going to have a huge breakout season because you know what I say about Chiefs skill players, right? There's not one guy who's going to be a huge breakout. But yeah, I'm okay taking Sky Moore there for sure. Justin Ross, yes. I will snag Justin Ross late for sure. All right, who am I going to snag here though? Let's see. So I'm set at quarterback and tight end. Got 3 running backs and 4 receivers, so I can go either way. Running back usually dries up first. Yep, it's dry. I'm going to get my guy here. Got to get Tank. Yeah, you do take it. I guess is this a thing? Like, because at first I think it was just like to troll Chris, but now I think you just do it like out of habit. Look, maybe it pays off. But what was it he said today? Or someone said about him? He's like, it's a day-by-day thing. I'm working my way. I'm almost 100%. That's like the slowest charger ever. Like, when will it ever get to 100%? It never will. He'll never be healthy. He's like the Kawhi Leonard of NFL. Always will be hurt. Okay, Brees in Dynasty. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say love. I don't love him as much, but he is young. He's talented. Dalvin Cook's probably a rental. I am, though, now that I say what I was saying about Sally and the committee thing, it does give me some pause. It does make me think maybe Brees isn't like the number 2 guy behind Bijan, even in Dynasty. Like, I don't want to put an older running back ahead of him. You know, obviously you can't put Eckler ahead of him because of the age and all that. I mean, Barkley's got red flags. Chubb is older. CMC, you know, he's not a sure thing. I would say Jonathan Taylor maybe would go over him wherever he plays. But you can't put him too much farther down because all these running backs have risk now. All right, let's see here. Time for a receiver. See a lot of guys I'm not drafting. All right, I'll take the guy I've been drafting, Romeo Doubs. Okay, thoughts on James Conner? Well, James Conner is going to get a lot of touches. James Conner has pretty much no competition at all. And James Conner is still good. I mean, you would think based on how many years he's been in the league that he would have more wear and tear. He hasn't because he's been hurt. I mean, that's not a great reason, but he's not over that, critical mark of touches where he should start falling apart. So I think Connor's still solid. I can't get too behind him as my starting RB2. And this is one of those players where Chris and I don't agree, and he's a little bit more optimistic about the Cardinals. I'm pretty convinced Arizona is going to be the worst team in the league record-wise, and a lot of people think that. There's no reason not to think that, to be honest. I think Kyler Murray doesn't play for several weeks until the season starts. It's just hard for a running back to generate much when the defense is bad, when the passing game is bad, when they know what's coming. And the fact that he doesn't have someone to help him, like to complement him, that's not necessarily a good thing because he's going to get tired. He's not going to be as efficient. So this sometimes, with running backs, volume matters, right? Volume is always number one. sometimes there's such a thing as too much volume. It overwhelms the efficiency. So, to some extent, I think it might not be a good thing for Connor, the fact that he is the only show in town there. So based on his volume, he's absolutely, of course, worth drafting as a low-end RB2, but I'm just not too excited about it. I don't know how many touchdowns he's going to get. I think risk of injury is still pretty high for me. So I'm only taking him. I mean, let's see, where'd he go? He went at the 6'8". I mean, I'm going to take Rachaad White over him every day. Aaron Jones over him, yes. I think that's about right where he went. That's about right. I mean, I know you could say all the same things about Rachaad White. That's not going to be a good offense and all that, but I'm pretty sure Tampa will be better than Arizona, at least a little bit. Yeah, that's exactly right. Teams are going to stack the box against him. They were not going to be too scared of the passing game with Clayton Tune and Colt McCoy back there. And even when Kyler Murray comes back, it's not going to be prime Kyler Murray. Okay, rewinding here a little bit. Okay, so we did have some more Javonte talk. Anthony, been reading good stuff about Javonte. Time to start drafting him. Well, we are hearing stuff about him. Javonte in the 7th. Not for me. Peyton said that was great, but they still want to take it slow. Yeah, let's not forget the injury wasn't just a minor thing. It was one of these multi-ligament severe injuries. I mean, it's shocking the fact that he is cleared already. He didn't start on PUP. That doesn't mean, again, just because he's out there playing week 1, if he's playing week 1, it doesn't mean he'll be good from week 1. So, again, this is where we can't get too confused between the touches and the opportunity versus the efficiency. Okay, well, let me make this pick here. All right, we got 2 picks left each. I mean, this is the time to take a Marvin Mims, isn't it? Speaking of Denver, Mims, a guy clearly benefiting from it's kind of sad, just sad injuries. I mean, Tim Patrick, can't catch a break. Neither can KJ Hamler, apparently. So they're gone. Mims, but that just really means he's the number 3 receiver, which is what he was to begin with. Now, speaking of reception perception, a guy being drafted too high in Denver, more so than Javonte, is Jerry Jeudy. He's just not a good route runner. I mean, that's what he was supposed to be coming out of college, and that's what people think he was. But the numbers say he's not. So 4th round, it's too early. It's too early for him. Give me Sutton several rounds later, or just take a flyer on Mims. Or what I'm really doing is, even though I didn't, and I probably should have now, is just take a guy like Dulcich as your tight end, which maybe someone will do now that I mentioned it. We got one team. Well, we only got one team without a tight end. I'm doing that more often than not. And I probably should have done that in this draft. But yeah, like Javonte as your RB3, that's fine. Like, I don't mind having him. Just keep the expectations low. That's what I'm saying. All right. So now I'm going to take one more running back. There's the Justin Ross pick. Heath took him. That was a smart pick and a good time to take him. I'm going to go with, here we go. just for fun. What if JT does get traded? Who's the starting running back in Indy now that Zach Moss is out for several weeks and wasn't that interesting to begin with? Is it Evan Hall, the rookie? Yeah, I'll take a shot. I think it's going to be a committee. That's the answer is no one's going to be the guy. No one's JT. We might see Evan Hall in early downs. We'll see Deion Jackson on passing downs because that's what he does, right? Somebody else random will get thrown into the mix. That's it. So Matt, you asking me which team I'm a fan of? I am a Dolphins fan. This is a good year to be a Dolphins fan, I think. Hopefully. Should be. Yeah, Bateman, I mean, I'm a fan of Bateman personally, but the guy has to show that he's healthy and focused. I mean, I got to see it before I start buying in fantasy because I've been in on him the last couple of years and it's like just hasn't panned out. So all right, last few rounds there, very nice. Clayton going for the 10 out of 10 grade with a Tua pick. Just noticed Anthony did not take Dulce. He went Irv Smith as a tight end. That'll be interesting. Let's see. There we see Lazard, a last round pick, and I just noticed Fantasy Sleepers draft strategy. Interesting to break down. Definitely check that out in a second. McKinnon. Well, that is the question. Like, if you ask me, it's going to be Zay Flowers. Been looking really good. I mean, Bateman, like I said, health issues. Odell Beckham always has multiple issues. That's why I'm all over Zay Flowers. But you actually want to know who is the wide receiver one is Zay Flowers. Who's going to be the number one guy? It's Mark Andrews. That's the answer there. All right. So let's get now to the breakdown. What we do is go through each team, just break down the roster construction, the builds, talk about some of the players, and overall impressions. So let's get to team one. Justin Jefferson, Tony Pollard. I feel like you can pick wherever you want, but I feel like you're going for the 1-1 a lot. So you got to mix it up sometimes just to challenge yourself. But all right, you went with Jefferson and Pollard. I know you've done that before. Ramondre there, Hopkins, Marquise Brown, Lawrence and Kittle, Odell Beckham. I feel it's a little early for Odell Beckham. I don't think we ever seen him go that early. 8-12. Rashad Penny, Jacoby Myers, Hyatt, Spears, and Chark. So you're good at running back. Obviously, you got two solid workhorses, really. I don't love Hopkins as my wide receiver too. I would have preferred Williams, obviously, or even Kirk Johnson, but it's okay. I'm okay with it there. Hollywood, again, not the guy I would have taken, but I think you're fine. You got Lawrence and Kittle. The fact that we have two, here's where I run into issue because you got Beckham and all those guys. Beckham, who knows? You don't know what you're getting at him. You're hoping to get a few good games, right? Myers is kind of like a solid but boring guy. Hyatt's an upside flyer. Chark, when we talked about Carolina Panther receivers, forgot to even mention him. He could be okay. Since you're flexing two here, I just would have preferred another receiver there like Flowers, who was in your lap, or JSN instead of Kittle. And that's just something I'm always saying. It just doesn't give you a huge advantage at tight end, to be honest. So I think the flex, you might be mixing and matching and trying to find guys, but overall, it's pretty solid. All right, Heath went with Chase and Cooper, and then 3 straight running backs with Etienne, Swift, and Walker. I mean, I love the upside. A little early on Swift, but I mean, obviously you're shooting for a big year. Dotson, Flowers, Sutton, Ashane, Anthony Richardson's your quarterback, Kincaid is your tight end, Harbin Ross. This team is definitely taking some chances on some rookies, right? Obviously, you get a rookie quarterback and a rookie tight end, and then you're flexing a rookie receiver and Flowers, probably, unless, well, I guess you're flexing one of your running backs and then Dotson. But it's young. This team is probably better in Dynasty than redraft. You've got the talent, and I like Flowers, so I'm okay with it. You have 3 really good running backs with upside, so I like your running back room. It's just, yeah, it's almost just a little too much, almost like risk for the sake of risk, like with getting a rookie quarterback and a rookie tight end. So it might pan out. I would have preferred a different tight ends, you know. Now with JT potentially on the move, I'm not quite as high on Richardson, and I wasn't all that high on him to begin with. So I don't love the quarterback tight end combo there, but otherwise I think you built yourself a team with a lot of upside. And that's the goal. All right, my team, I'll just say here's what I was going for. Cup, I think I'm now firmly in the camp where he's the number 3 guy, even over Tyreek Hill, because I don't see Stafford throwing to anybody else. Higgins, for me, was the best value there. Henry, could not let him drop. Love Lamar. You guys watch the video, the must-haves. You'll see why. Mike Williams there, I think, was the best receiver available. I debated Kirk, but I just like Williams a little bit better. Rashad White, and then I got JSN, who I'm also digging. He's my number 2 flex, so I'm okay with that. B-Rob and Bigsby, upside running backs. Ingram, I don't love that I picked him there. I could have just waited at tight end, but didn't cost me too much because there really weren't any receivers there I love that got taken ahead of me, so it didn't really make a difference. And then just shooting for upside with Dobbs, Mims, and Hull. All right, Nate, let's see what you did tonight. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, and then Justin Fields and Kyle Pitts. We have a 0 RB build officially. I don't love Metcalf and Jeudy. Where you got them, it wasn't bad value. It's just those aren't the players I'm drafting. But overall, your receivers are obviously really good. I love the Fields Pitts combo. That's a QB tight end combo I can get behind. If you're going to go tight end in the middle rounds, which, again, I don't advocate, but if you're going to do it, at least go for Pitts. Now, how did your running backs turn out? Aaron Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, Charbonnet, Algier Warren. I mean, for where you started drafting running backs, yes, I'm totally good with Aaron Jones there. Pacheco is okay. I prefer Robinson or Shane myself, but I think this is going to be a solid team. Very solid. All right, Keith went with CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Ridley, which we discussed for sure. Mahomes, Najee, Deontay Johnson, Connor, Elijah Moore, Dylan, Darren Waller, Gallup, Chase Brown, Zamir White, and Tyler Boyd. Some of my favorite late-round flyers there, Gallup, Brown, and, of course, Zamir. I don't love Waller, but who am I to speak because I took Ingram in the same round. Same thing, I guess. And then you got, look, for where you took Connor, it's fine. Again, I prefer White or Jones, but that's just me. They're probably going to wind up pretty similar anyways. Running back could be an issue, though, with Najee, is he a true, number 1 in fantasy? He's really more like a low-end RB1 in fantasy. And so I almost feel like you might as well have just gone receiver there. But I think he's fine. I think it's fine. This team is very, very solid. I feel it's more floor than ceiling, which is okay because if you think Ridley is going to be, a breakout receiver, I'll make up for it. Anthony went with Bijan, first time ever. Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts for the stack. McLaurin and Kirk. Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, Burks, Kamara, and Thomas. Got some Saints here. And then Jameson Williams, Thielen, and Irv Smith. Okay, so I'm not drafting any of those 4 guys in a row that you took in the later rounds, starting from Kamara and ending with Thielen. I mean, I'm not really drafting Irv Smith either, but not because I have anything against him. I just have other guys ahead of him. So I don't love the bench, but I do like your receiving core quite a bit. You didn't even go with one in the first or third rounds, but I like Devontae Smith. I think McLaurin and Kirk are really solid with Burks. And I think with running back, you're good too, because Bijan, of course, is my number 1 guy. Sanders could be a really solid number 2. And then, take Javonte as your 3rd guy. See what happens. So mixing it with Hurts, I really like your starting core. I just don't love the bench. Yeah. Dart throws, it is what it's all about. But again, you want some of those darts to hit the board, right? You don't want to be throwing darts blindly. So I get it. I mean, shoot for upside, but also make sure you have some depth. Fantasy sleeper. All right, so this build went 0 wide receiver, basically. Didn't take one until the 7th round. CMC and Chubb, Andrews, Josh Allen, Breece Hall, and Joe Mixon. So you're basically declaring that you're going to flex at least 1, if not 2, running backs. And this is the full PPR league. Now your receivers are Mike Evans, Quentin Johnson, Gabe Davis, Scotty Moore, Rashee Rice, Jaden Reed, and Lazard. So it's different, not in a good way. I mean, I don't think this receiving core can win because Quentin Johnson once in a while will flash. But I don't feel like he's going to be startable on a weekly basis. Gabe Davis is clearly not startable on a weekly basis. Sky Moore, maybe, but he really shouldn't be your number 2 guy. He should be like your 3rd or 4th receiver. And I just not a fan of Rice or Lazard. So, I mean, and I would say, okay, you're going to flex 2 running backs, but Breece Hall is not the running back I want to flex. And neither is Joe Mixon. So, honestly, not my favorite build. All right, Clayton. Garrett Wilson at the 1-8. Not afraid to take JT there. And the 2nd round went London and Ayuk, of course. Cam Akers, George Pickens, because he saw those highlights. Goddard there. Gibson, Harris, Nico, Mingo, Shaheed, and then Tua. All right, love the quarterback, love the tight ends, love your receivers, really. Wilson, London, Ayuk, and Pickens. That's solid. I even like your backup receivers. I love the receivers. JT and Akers, I got nothing bad to say about that either. Gibson is your 3. Actually, this might wind up being my favorite team. And no, it's not just because Tua is the quarterback. But this is a really good build, so well done. King of the World went with Kelsey in the 1st round. Smart pick there. Got Waddle and DJ Moore. Great start. Jacobs, I mean, what can we say? We just have to hold out, judgment until we know either way what happens. They're talking that they've opened up discussions again, so who knows? Burrow, you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine by week 1. Lockett, Monty, Cooks, Tony, Kendre, Mitchell, Rashawn Johnson, and Alec Pierce. I really like the start of this draft. Your starting lineup is really solid. Also one of the best out here. The Tony pick, maybe it'll pay off later. That's fine. But Kendrick Miller is good. Rashawn Johnson. So, yeah, I think this is a good team. I mean, you said dart throws, but no, you took guys with clear path to value. Kendrick Miller could be the starting running back in New Orleans. Rashawn Johnson might be the starting running back there. I think Pierce is a guy who could be a playmaker. So these are smart moves. And then let's go to Joe at the 10. Joe seems to like drafting from the 10 spot. Again, guys, mix it up. Try something different. Eckler, Olave, Dobbins, a little early. Godwin and Addison. I know that's a guy he's been drafting a lot of, is Jordan Addison. That's a good spot to take him right there. That's good value. And they got Watson and Njoku for the stack. That's pretty good. Dalvin Cook, Mooney Jefferson, Samuel, Hodgins, McKinnon. So again, a little early with a Dobbins pick. You could have gotten like a Christian Watson or a Debo and still got Dobbins, honestly. That's the issue, because then instead you got Chris Godwin as your wide receiver 2, who I know you like Godwin. And look, your receivers are good. I'm not saying they aren't, but this team could have even been a little bit better. So, but no complaints here. Assuming everything is all good with Dobbins and Cook signs, you'll wind up pretty solid at running back. You'll be solid. This team, once you get past the first couple of picks, it's more solid than it is exciting. But nothing sticks out to me as a bad pick here. All right, we're at the 11th here. Andrea went with Diggs, Barkley, Gibbs, Keenan, and Pittman. Getting Gibbs a lot these days. Damian Pierce, Freiermuth, Dak, Khalil Herbert, Rondell Moore, Jerome Ford, Mechie, and Downs. All right, so the receivers here, a little more veteran on the veteran side, but that doesn't matter because it's redraft. My only issue here, you didn't wait. You got really solid quarterback with Dak, solid tight end. You're definitely good at running back, like no question about that. So the question is, for your second flex, this is 2 running back, 2 receiver, and 2 flex. Are you flexing Pierce, or are you going down and trying to reach one of these receivers? Because you kind of put yourself into the spot because you didn't take your 4th receiver until later. Rondell Moore, not a guy I'm flexing. Mechie is just like a lotto ticket at this point. So you kind of put yourself in a position where you have to flex Pierce in this particular lineup, and it's fine. But again, I think for me, the wide receiver depth, I think I would have built a little bit sooner. That's just me saying I don't like Khalil Herbert or Rondell Moore, I guess is what I'm saying. I would rather have Sky Moore, Nico Collins, Van Jefferson. But that's a nitpick. That's not a big thing. And last but not least, Ale, who, to no one's surprise, went 0 RB. So let's look at these receivers. A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Watson, and Debo. Yeah, he's got the best receiving core of anybody. Got Justin Herbert, got T.J. Hawkinson. So I will say right now, if Damian Pierce is still on the board, I'm not taking T.J. Hawkinson over him. But he wanted to go 0 RB. He did it. So let's look at the running backs. Madison, Cook, P. Ryan, Jamal Williams, Foreman, Mostert with Juju in there. I mean, this is how you do it. Look, again, to me, I would rather just say I'll have Pierce and on the way back get a tight end because I don't really see Hawkinson as significantly more valuable than even like Freiermuth or Evan Ingram. I just don't see Hawkinson as like a game changer. Could be wrong, but that's me. And then, Madison, risky, but look, all these running backs are risky. I like the Cook pick. I like the P. Ryan pick. So he did what he does, and he executed it without a hitch. So this is a team that could be really, really solid. And then Nate's dropping some late news on a potential cup injury. He's telling me this right after I drafted him. But at least it's a mock. So let's see what happens tomorrow. So that's the main thing. Talk about what do you keep up with on training camp and what do you don't. Injury news is definitely something to keep up with. So do that. All right, guys. That is it. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with more mock drafts. Let me throw up this one more time so y'all don't forget. And take off ticker. There it is. All right. I'll just keep the ticker on. Don't forget flockfantasy.com/endgame. And that is the way that you can join these mocks nice and early, get your spot, draft with us, against us, and those actual endgame leagues are going to be published soon. So if you want in on that, again, check it out, flockfantasy.com/endgame. Join now for access to all of that. All right, we'll see you in the next one.